Hey everyone, Michael Pickens here, host of the Libertarian Leadership Academy live stream. And we are here with Michael Fricke, Dr. Michael Fricke, who's running for District 72 State House in Ohio. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, so the first question I always ask candidates is why are you running for office?
So this is my second time running for office. First time I got into it, it was just because I wanted to be able to feel clean after voting. You know, there was just no one on the ballot that I liked at all.
Yeah.
This time, it's really part of the Ohio strategy to flood the ballot with as many candidates as possible. We have hard-fought ballot access after 4 years. So this is the year to do it, and we're just trying to get as many candidates as possible. So I
Yeah,
take on my state rep in Portage County, Ohio.
yeah, I saw that you guys were aiming to get 99 candidates, one
Yeah,
for every state house seat on the ballot, and you ended up getting what 39 candidates and maybe some write-ins,
we
which
could
is an
still get some more
amazing
writing,
feat.
right?
Yeah, which is an amazing feat. Heck, trying to get 99 libertarians to do the same thing and run for office is
Yeah,
it's tough enough, and then to end up with 39, that's still quite an accomplishment.
yeah, yeah. We have some great leadership in Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely. So they twisted your arm, right?
I wasn't too hard to convince. You know, it's not too much of a burden to run for office. We only needed to collect 25 signatures. I turned in 53. So I have had
Okay.
issues with signatures in Ohio before, and actually got the Board of Elections to reverse themselves once. So that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, 25 signatures. That's not a high bar. Now, does that if you didn't have ballot access, would that bar increase?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think it would
How
be
much? Do you
500.
know?
500?
500?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not too bad, but it's significantly more than 25.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Um,
awesome. So what are some other issues that you care about that, if you were running for office, not just for ballot access, but if you were running just to run, what would you be pushing out there?
so number one issue has got to be the Senate Bill 56. Ohio passed cannabis reform and decriminalized in 2023, and the Republicans decided that they didn't like the voter pass rules, so they modified it. We have police checkpoints right now, maybe public service announcement to anyone coming back from Michigan, but do not bring Michigan marijuana across the border. The police are having a sting right now.
You're kidding. So they're like it's like a breathalyzer checkpoint, but it's for weed.
Well, it's always been federally illegal to bring Michigan marijuana back into Ohio, but they just basically said that it's now statewide illegal. So they're charging people with felonies crossing the border right now. You know, I'm getting friends texting me like, "Don't bring weed back."
Oh wow.
So
So
yeah,
then when I fly out there this month, I shouldn't bring weed in the plane?
I mean it's pretty expensive, but you can buy it from the state-owned, Ohio cartel.
Yeah, the Ohio cartel. How good is it though?
It's not very good. It's
It'll take
it's
a few
New York, and
years.
California. I think have the crown. Colorado's up there. Michigan owns the cheap marijuana, category, but Ohio is basically just overpriced. Ohio is one of the
Yeah.
worst drug dealers you can imagine.
Well, I'll have to bring some Washington weed so you can check it out because I think it'll compare to some of the best. So
Very nice, very nice.
yeah, so that's one of the main issues. So they botched the bill, right? Basically created their own new set of rules around
Uh,
it.
they went back on some of the things that we did pass by voter initiative with 58%. So they've just completely ignored the voters' will and said that the voters were misled and didn't understand it, and just they think they're smarter than we are.
Always. They think they're smarter than we are, and they think that they have the authority over us, right?
Yeah.
That's the definition of authoritarian, is they believe in a centralized authority over others. So,
And that there's a protected class and an unprotected class. There has to be a distinction between people who feel like the authoritarians are protecting them and those who are not under that umbrella.
yeah. Well, it's just crazy to me because someone can go and literally get a gallon of vodka and drink themselves to death. But if you get an ounce of weed and you smoke it all night, you're going to wake up with a sore throat, you know, and that's it.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Um, but there is no like life-threatening issues with cannabis that I've seen. Maybe if you eat, 100 gummies, with, that might be something. It might get you, I don't know, sick, but not like alcohol.
No. So yeah, the voter initiative was supposed to have alcohol and marijuana treated the same, but it's still a second class citizen. No public consumption anymore. Um, they've really turned the pothead back into the criminal here in Ohio, and this just
Oh
happened
no.
last Friday. So it just implemented on Friday a week ago.
Oh, they changed the rules on Friday?
Yeah, the rules went into effect. So
Gotcha.
Senate Bill 56 was went into effect a week ago.
Now, what do you do? What do you do at that point?
um, I don't know. I guess you're still allowed to grow your own. You can buy it from the state, or you can break the law.
Yeah. Or,
Not smoke is another option.
do you run the initiative over, and clarify things,
There
right?
was a small petition to try and put it back on the ballot, but they did not succeed, and they were a little bit tricky about accepting grassroots help too. We reached out to them, and I don't know, it wasn't a very organized petition drive, which is pretty much the death of a petition drive.
Yeah, you got to be organized to collect all those signatures, that's for sure.
Yeah, we passed sensible ordinance here and locally. I live in Kent, Ohio, near Kent State University,
Mhm.
and we passed a voter initiative just in locally that provides additional protection before the statewide decriminalization.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
So, what other things are you running on?
Big enough. The second big one is gerrymandering. Again, we passed a constitutional amendment that is supposed to prevent gerrymandering, and what the Republicans ended up doing is just waiting out the clock. They kept putting bad maps out. The courts kept stopping them, and eventually the election happened, and they had to use them. So they're
Oh,
really just stonewalling this, and it's really prevented us having leadership that we're able to select. The Republicans have a supermajority. They also just outlawed ranked choice voting. It's now if you're a city that wants to have ranked choice voting, then you give up all of your state money to have ranked choice voting, and you know it seems like pretty
so
extreme. And they say it's
yeah,
to prevent wasteful money in the elections, but really it's another power grab.
to make sure they stay in power.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So they outlawed ranked choice voting. So they did it at the legislative level.
It's a state law that has penalties for any cities that would think of having ranked choice voting.
Don't think about it.
Yeah.
You're done. That's crazy. Um, the lengths that these people will go through to maintain their power over their fellow citizens is insane.
I mean, it's all they have, really.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, they don't have anything else other than just keep sucking on the tit.
Yeah. Keep raping the taxpayer. The free range tax slaves, right?
Yeah.
So what else? What other issues?
Um, well, professionally, I'm founding a laboratory to do lead environmental lead testing, and this is
Okay.
a big issue in Ohio. 20 years ago, about 1 in 4 children in Cleveland were poisoned with lead. Um, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We have much older housing in the area, and it's a lot of poor communities where the rents, the rental properties haven't gotten fixed up at all. And
Yeah.
so Cleveland passed I think it's a really good governance law where you have to get your rental properties checked every 2 years and declared lead safe. I mean, it's a burden for the landlords, but we've crept down from 1 in 5 children being poisoned to 8% of Cleveland's children are poisoned. So that's something that I've worked with extensively.
Yeah. So, well, once a house is, deemed lead free, why would they need to get it tested again?
Well, it's not going to be lead free; it's going to be lead safe.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So,
go ahead. Can you explain that?
so yeah, most of the houses would involve having to rip it down to the studs to get the paint off the walls. So as long as you have fresh paint and it's encapsulated, then it
Mhm.
doesn't get aerosolized as lead dust, and then the kids don't crawl around in it on the floor and touch their mouths. So it is possible to remove it, but most of these houses it wouldn't be worth it to take it down to the studs. So they need to cover it up and keep the high friction surfaces encapsulated.
Gotcha. Okay. So basically, all these houses with lead paint, the paint's just been covered over. So the lead's still present, and
Yes.
you're just making sure that they've covered it enough.
Yeah. The inspectors go in with dust wipes and they wipe the floor and then send it off to the laboratory. So
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and Cleveland is the has this landmark bill, and I think it's important because right now the level of kids who are poisoned in Cleveland is higher than they ever were in Flint, Michigan. The only
Mhm.
difference is that you can point to, this is the guy at the water department who switched from the Lake Michigan to the Flint River and caused all the kids to be poisoned. But in Cleveland, you have to point at 10,000 different landlords, so it doesn't make the
Yeah.
news. But it's a big issue around here.
Yeah. So if you're buying a rental property in Cleveland, better double check.
Yeah, you will have to you'll have to pay to get it inspected every 2 years for each
Yeah.
unit.
Is there anything else that you're going to be testing for in your lab?
Yeah, I mean, we just see this as kind of the first step. Once you have a ISO accredited laboratory, which we're on the cusp of, we haven't got it yet, then it's
Mhm.
real easy to add additional tests. But we're focusing on lead because there's not a local laboratory that's doing this test.
Gotcha. Are they having to send it out of state?
Yeah, the closest lab is in Michigan. There's one in Virginia, one in Philadelphia. But
Okay.
all the home inspectors are sending it out of state currently.
So I would assume your turnaround time would be a lot faster.
Right, because it doesn't have to go in the mail. They can just drop it off and we can give them a result the same day. So I've
Oh,
been
that's
at this for
fantastic.
about 3 years.
Oh, good deal.
Yep.
Yeah. Libertarian Party of Ohio says Dr. Michael Fricke.
Hello. Yeah, the
Yeah, so
leadership,
talk.
Michelle and Mike Sweeney and Cassandra have done a really good job with energizing the party. It's in its best state that I've seen, and I've been active in the Ohio leadership for since 2016 is when I had my breaking point with everything else.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys are doing some amazing things out there. I'm excited to come out and meet all of you. I think I've interviewed more Ohio candidates than all the other candidates combined in other states. So
I've got to think that we have maybe the most candidates of any state. Maybe California beats us. I'm not sure.
right now, I don't think so. No, I think you might be up there towards the top.
Good, good.
Of Yeah. California's never had a real push to run candidates. I was a Northern Vice Chair back in 2011, and when top two came around, it really demoralized a lot of people. Um, the top two election law, only the top two vote getters from the primary move on to the general election.
So if you're a libertarian who's not from Ohio, this is how it's done.
Yes, yes. Run run a bunch of candidates. In Washington State, my last year when I was active in 2016, we had 34 candidates
Oh,
across
wow.
the state. So you guys beat us then. But I am now the newly re-elected chair as of this past weekend. So now I have to beat your guys' numbers. And I hope Sweeney is
Let's make it a
paying attention.
competition, you know? Yeah, I'll keep running just
Yeah,
to win the competition.
good deal. I will challenge everyone in Ohio because we all win, you know?
Yeah, well, we're going to win some of these races. I think we have a couple of one-on-ones.
Yep.
We're definitely going to win some of them. So
Yeah,
I'm
huge
currently in a three-way
opportunity.
race. So
Yeah, those are a little harder, obviously, when you're running against the old parties because
yeah,
people just, they don't think about it when they go to the ballot box, right? They're just used to voting Republican or voting Democrat, and they just pull the trigger regardless of who the person is that they're voting for.
yeah. I'm running a little bit of an unconventional campaign. It's a $0 campaign, um,
Mhm.
but I drive my Lyft around the county and talk to people, and I get a captive audience for about 10 minutes, and a lot of times they're interested in what I have to say. So
Good. You haven't gotten any one stars from it, have you?
I mean, I've been doing that for 8 years, so I don't have to worry too much about a one star.
You've gotten plenty 5 stars enough and keep
Yeah,
your
the
rating up
best is
high.
when I've had my passengers put me on Facebook Live.
Oh,
Then I
that's
get to talk
cool.
to their friends too. But I ran the local Sensible Kent in 2022, which was a decriminalization voter initiative, and we had to fight with the Board of Elections. They tried to keep us off the ballot, but we got them to actually change their mind, which I know is
Mhm.
unusual, but mostly just picking up people and the students they knew who I was as soon as I picked them up. They're like, "Oh, you're the guy who's running that initiative," and we had the highest success. We had 86% vote for it at the ballot.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah,
that
that
was
is a
there were
huge.
30 local ones in Ohio, and that was the best. So, and, I
So
think
when
it's
you,
an
you ran
effective
the
way to
initiative,
campaign.
go ahead.
Uh, Driving a taxi around your district is a very effective way to campaign. That's how I collected all of my signatures. And I was actually getting paid while I was collecting signatures. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, I
Yeah, you're
recommend it.
talking to people all the time.
Captive audience, way better than knocking on doors.
No one threatening you with a gun.
Not yet, not yet. Could happen.
I've had that happen, knocking on doors.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yep. Rural
yeah.
Washington State.
You wouldn't
Guy
think
came
it.
to the door with a shotgun.
Seemed like a friendly state to me. I've been there a couple times.
Well, I made sure he knew that I supported the Second Amendment. So he put the gun down and we had a good conversation. So,
Good, good.
yep.
Yeah, most people agree with what we're selling. It's just a matter of getting them to really they're voting against the other party is what we're trying to fight against.
Yeah.
None of them particularly like their candidates either.
No. Nope. Especially in this last presidential election. It's like either they're voting against Trump or they're voting against Harris.
Yeah,
You know, I knew some people that liked Trump and they don't like him now. I kind of went back on everything.
yeah. Well, he hasn't done everything bad. He's done a couple good things. So I'm not a big fan of him blowing up bridges and water desalination plants. I think that's an outrage, and I hope he gets prosecuted for it.
Yeah. And girls' schools.
Yeah.
So just crazy, man. And then, the boots on the ground. Looks like there's going to be boots on the ground in Iran.
Oh, for
So
sure.
if there isn't already,
You don't send those kind of people over there unless you're going to use them.
yeah. So, yeah. So you're a doctor and
Yeah.
you're a doctor in chemistry.
Yes.
you like to talk more about that?
Sure. Yeah, I do quite a bit of lecturing about arsenic is my expertise, and there's a rich organic chemistry with arsenic compounds, and as the arsenic is moves up the food chain, it gets methylated and becomes less toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an open area of research. The low level chronic exposure to arsenic, whether you have it in your water or your food source, is poorly understood. Um, and this is what I did my PhD in, my postdoc at the EPA with arsenic, and I still lecture about it regularly. I went to your neck of the woods. I studied at University of British Columbia. There was a
Mm-hmm.
professor there who worked with arsenic for 40 years, and it's a fascinating element. We've been poisoning ourselves with it for thousands of years. So the first metal that humans worked with was copper, and that's because you didn't have to reach a certain temperature. You could make it in a reducing fire, which is just a hole in the ground with thatch over it with a fire, and you add it with oxygen with the bellows, and you can put a copper containing mineral like malachite in there, and after a few hours in the reducing conditions, it would form metal, and then they could work with it. But it also
Mm-hmm.
lets arsenic out as a byproduct. So people will be breathing it in and get poisoned, and there's evidence for that in bodies that have been recovered that are 5,000 or 6,000 years old that have huge levels of arsenic. But then as the working with the metallurgy got better, the arsenic would collect on the doors of the oven, and they would scrape it off as a byproduct, which meant that arsenic was available as a cheap poison for thousands of years for anyone who wanted to spread it around their granaries or try and prevent the rats from getting into the pantry on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been the king of poisons and the poison of kings. So we have
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
We have actually probably the world's oldest weapon of mass destruction here in Cleveland. It was a World War I chemical weapon site called the Cleveland Mousetrap. And the soldiers called that because they, once you got in, the secrecy was such that they couldn't get out or communicate. So they called it the Mousetrap. And it was the first probably WMD factory in the world. They had an order from the generals for 3,000 tons so that they could drop it from airplanes. And we're talking 1918 here, so this is closer to the Civil War than it is to modern day. But they had about 300 tons of it when the war ended, and they took it out and put it on barges in Baltimore and pushed it overboard about 50 miles offshore. So it's just a real tragic example of the federal government just deciding that Cleveland was an armpit.
Oh wow!
So to this day,
Did it poison the water?
What's that?
Did it poison the water?
Yeah, I mean, they continued doing this. It wasn't until the 70s when they had to stop dumping chemical weapons into the oceans. So you would think that 300 tons is a lot, but that's World War One. This compound was called lewisite, and all the combatants in World War II stockpiled it, even though it was never used. And
Mm-hmm.
they were dumping hundreds of thousands of tons of this stuff after World War II. It was obsolete by the 60s. So, yeah, there are dead areas in Chesapeake Bay that are potentially related to it.
Gotcha. Because they just kept dumping.
Yeah,
So
I
they
mean,
manufactured this with trying to, basically with the thought that they would use it to poison their enemies, and then they never used it.
yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, if they had dumped that on Germany, I think the environmental, repercussions of that could be everywhere on the order of Hiroshima or Nagasaki.
Hmm.
It would still be there and still poisoning the ground.
Does it cause birth defects too,
Um, no,
or
it's
does it
not.
just
It's not a
kill people?
mutagen like that. It's more of like acute toxicity. To small amounts is very toxic.
Okay, so it just kills people then, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a vesicant, so it doesn't. You don't have to breathe it. It can go through your skin too.
Wow.
So,
Are they still producing it?
no, I think it's been obsoleted since the nerve gases were discovered in the late 50s.
They switched to nerve gas.
Just it wasn't that good of a chemical weapon anymore.
Oh, they found a better one to hurt people. The amount of money and effort put into killing other humans when it could be used to advancing society just blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it Trump wasn't lying when he says we can't pay for Medicare or Medicaid while we're in war, and that's not a lie. It's a sad truth.
Yeah, 39, $40 trillion in debt. We can keep funding bombs, but not healthcare.
And if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. There's only one way this ends.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't understand the concept of blowback. We're over there bombing these people, a lot of them innocent, and their brother, their mother, their dad, or their daughter, their son gets killed from one of these bombs, drone strikes. What do you think that's going to do to someone? You
Yeah,
think they're just going to say, "Oh, my son meant, he deserved to die." No, they're going to be pissed off at America, and now you're creating more terrorists.
yeah.
And it's just an eye for an eye makes everyone blind. That's kind of how it works.
And Tehran is such an ancient and beautiful city too. It's such a shame.
Yeah. Well, the defense contractors need to make money, and the shareholders of those defense contractor companies, they need to make money. You look at the stock portfolios of all these politicians that are voting for war. Actually, they're not even voting for war. They're just deciding to go to war, right? Because there hasn't been a congressional vote yet. So,
Yeah, they've been letting it
yeah.
happen.
Oh yeah, because their stock portfolio goes up and they make, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on continued aggressive action in these foreign countries that can't defend themselves really. You know, we've got what 25 military bases surrounding Iran, but they're the threat to us.
Yeah,
And it's amazing to me that the average American can't see that. Like they cannot see that we are the aggressor. We're the ones, not we, not you and I, but the American government are the ones that have been planning this for years by establishing military bases all around that country.
yeah. It's a shame.
Yep. All right, switching topics. Joe Hanush says vote in the Ohio Libertarian primary election May 5th. You guys have a contested gubernatorial primary, is that correct?
Um,
You have two governor's candidates and two lieutenant governor's candidates running as teams.
so I know one of them really well. I did hear about someone else, but I'm not sure if they're on the ballot or they're write-in.
They're write-ins, yeah. So I interviewed Christy Orr. She was awesome. I also interviewed James Mills
Right.
and Don Kissick, and they're all awesome as well. It's great to have really good candidates to choose from.
I've known
You
Don for
know,
years, and James has been he's been a force de jour touring the state. So I wish
yep.
I had his campaign energy. And
Well,
really,
you're
I
starting a
do
new
have the
business,
energy. I
man.
just don't have the time. Starting the business is really kind of all consuming.
Yep. I am only here doing this right now because my business is established and I've got people helping me. So
Very
I'm
nice.
able to have a little free time and a little more energy. So I get it, 100%. So we're about out of time on here. Is there anything else you'd like to say? How can people find you? I know you're not running a campaign that you're soliciting donations. So
Right. So I have an email. It's Fricke for Ohio, FRICKE at
mhm,
gmail.com.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for running. I will be out there. Looking forward to meeting you in person
Yeah, I'm looking forward
and
to it too.
challenging you guys for 2028. So
Yeah, don't mess with Ohio.
awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks so much. You have a good one.
All right, take care. See you soon.